Good afternoon and welcome to the June 28th Council work session, and we're going to begin this with items and committee reports. So do I have a queue? Who would like, Greg? Okay. Anybody else in the queue? Betty? Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Chris?
Always have something that we used to.
Anybody else? All right, take it away.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to report both Councilor Taylor and I went to the National League of Cities summer meeting last week in Cleveland, which is also my hometown. So double duty. I got to see some folks I haven't seen in 20 some odd years. So that was good too. But as chair of transportation and infrastructure for NLC this year, I conducted a rather robust meeting about the priorities and the budget, the federal budget that has come out from the administration, and what that specifically means for cities around transportation. In fact, that was the gist of the meeting, is the impact, the potential impact that the federal budget would have on cities if it passed in the form that has been put out by the administration, which we don't think will be the case, but there will be some significant reductions in terms of federal programs that benefit cities. So, for instance, CDGB could be altered, reduced, or go away. The home program, also in transportation, as far as transit is concerned, as well as other pieces of the puzzle. There is a proposal from the administration about doing P3s, public-private partnerships, in order to enhance our investments in our infrastructure. That has some pluses and minuses to it. We are attempting to kind of hold the line, if you will, in terms of investments in both the highway and roads and bridges, as well as the transit investments, particularly the investments that we have locally. So there are, cities that are not in the same shape that we are with our transit agency and what we've been able to do with bus rapid transit and other pieces of infrastructure that we've been able to affect. But again, the future of that is kind of iffy right now, because we don't know where the administration and ultimately where Congress is going to land with their budget proposals for this year. This year coming up, next fiscal year. In addition to that, we are going to be coming to the end of the FAST Act pretty soon in 2020, and that is where LTD has been able to get additional resources to be able to finish the West Eugene MX line, and also part of that money has been used to get a grant to study the River Road, Santa Clara area in terms of whether we go for enhanced capacity transit, bus rapid transit, or other pieces of transportation infrastructure. So right now, we're hopeful that there will be some negotiations between Congress and the White House that, these potential cuts won't be as draconian as what they look like or what they're proposed to be. And hopefully that there will be a way forward for us to be able to fund our transportation system and a lot of the things that we are looking to move forward, particularly with our TSP and other transportation pieces that we're looking at.
Right. Do we have a timer working?
No, it's not moving.
No, it's 3.
Oh, Greg gets to talk
We're
all
just
day if he
letting
wants
Greg
to, I
go.
guess.
We're just letting Greg
Important
go.
stuff.
Okay, just
That was
gotta-
that was, my 3.5 minutes.
He was just on the runway, just a long, long runway. Okay. All right, Betty.
Now it's my turn, so
I
you're going to
actually-
turn
Now
on
we're
the
gonna
timer
time you,
probably.
right.
Now you're going to time it.
I want to hear more about Greg's.
Well, I was there too in Cleveland. I attended different meetings, however. I was with the advisory council, which is like the Supreme Court. Once you've been on the board for your 2 terms, you're on the advisory council the rest of your life. But anyway, we talked, but I'm also now on the Energy and Environment Committee, which was very interesting and important. But as Greg said, the theme of everything was budget cuts and the concern for cities. And we were all encouraged to get in touch with our legislators. In our case, our legislators are reliably protective of cities' interests. So, but what we can do is support the National League of Cities, which is focusing on cities' interests. And I think that's really important. I hope that more people here will become involved in addition to Greg and me. Greg has become very well known in NLC within a few years. When he said people were saying to him that they knew me, now people are saying, do you know Greg?
That's great.
Yeah, I know him. So locally, I've had a communication about speed limits around parks. Speed limits, I've asked over the years if we could just concentrate, have every neighborhood focus on traffic problems, that everybody has them. But this latest thing was speed limits around parks, especially Tugman Park, which is in my ward. And the fact that people are parking across the street, walking across to the park, including little kids, and cars are speeding by. If the person asks, can't we establish a lower speed limit in park areas as we have in schools so that people can ignore those too, I guess. But I think that's a good idea. I really think we need to discuss speed limits all over town when we talk about not killing people on the highway. Speed kills. We know that's an original comment. And everybody knows about the noise from concerts. And can we do anything to prevent a repetition of what happened Saturday night? City manager.
I think Kelly Darnell sent out an email just, could have been yesterday, and talking about the kinds of things that we are going to be doing to mitigate that from the future, in the future.
And if it does happen, if it's not supposed to happen and it's happening, can we let the police do something? Many people said to me was they called the police. They said we can't do anything.
I don't know if it would be the police or somebody else that would be monitoring that and asking them to turn it down. So I don't know exactly who it would be, but that part of our intent is to try to not have that become an issue in the future.
You'd better not to have it in the first place, but if it's happening, be good to be able to stop it. And one more thing, the flying people at the airport, when are they coming back?
Way.
I think we've also sent something out on that within the last several months, and we'd be happy to resend that. The Art Commission Committee, I forget the exact name of it, is evaluating where those can go and have them be put back into the airport. So
I saw that, but they still aren't there, and they should be there.
well, I think the process was going to take several months for
Several
that
years.
to happen.
Okay, I saw some spaces if you want to know as I walk through. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Chris?
Thanks. I really appreciate the update on the conference. That's very helpful for me to know what happened there. So thank you for doing that. A couple of things I wanted to mention was the reception for Eugene and the Mozilla city. The mayor was there. I was there. I think a couple of other folks were there. It's a very big deal to have been designated a Mozilla city, as you read in the paper. So I thought that was a great reception and a good opportunity for interconnecting between folks. The Home Governance Board, which includes the mayor and myself and the mayor of Springfield and one of their counselors, met to talk about the exact same situation with regard to home funding and how that applies to being able to underwrite affordable housing in Eugene. Very important, critical issue, and there's a lot of issues that still need to be worked out with that end with CDBG. The LCOG board met last Thursday, and it was in Cottage Grove at the new armory, or not the new to them armory, the old armory. And I was very impressed with what that facility can represent for Cottage Grove in terms of a place for them to do stuff. And I'm happy to say they passed their budget, and LCOG is in the best shape it's been in for years under Brenda Wilson and her staff's guidance. They have gone from circling the drain to being a very viable organization that does represent a lot of county interests. Dave Hauser Memorial, John did a great job of emceeing that, but I think the memorial overall was great and was really well done and was a great reflection on somebody who did a lot for the community. I attended on last Saturday the dedication of a new pedestrian bridge on Buck Street in my ward, which was put in by LTD, and we did a mutual celebration between the city, LTD, and the neighbors to celebrate that new bridge, which provides a tremendous connection between the neighbors south of the mill race or the canal and access to transportation along West 11th, which was really good. Those are the main things I had to report, and congratulations to the new counselor.
Right. Who's not here? I guess she had another meeting.
She had a work meeting.
She had a work meeting to go to. All right, I have Emily in the queue. Alan, Claire, do you have anything? Okay, go for it.
Thank you. I'm the Human Rights Commission liaison. They had their last meeting until September, except for a work session on August 1st for goal setting, etc. We have a new chair and vice chair and 3 new commissioners, so it should be an interesting year with some new energy. They recently completed a very, very extensive report of experiences from different vulnerable population groups, different ethnicities in our city, and that's been, I assume it's on the web, but it's long, it's really interesting. They did a lot of work, so that was a big accomplishment there. Lucy and I were at the opening of Charnelton Mulligan. That was quite an exciting event and well attended in spite of threatening weather. So that's something the city should be proud of, that renovation project. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Just this last week, I attended, I think on Chris's behalf, Lane Workforce Partnership Board lunch meeting where there was some structural changes about governance of the Workforce Partnership Board that were ratified and approved. That creates a board of a great many a variety of interests and people who are in a programmatic sort of do more programmatic work, where the official and budgetary things are done by the elected officials that are represented there on their. There were 2 names now for this: the Workforce Partnership Board, and then the other one was I want to say the commission, excuse me, which is those elected representatives who have more formal authority for budgetary matters and such. And I guess I would say too that I'd be happy to have the permanent position there on that body if it's comfortable or wanted to do so. I'd be happy to do it. So. That's for later. Just
that's
FYI.
for later. But I'll just respond to that and then give to Alan, which is that I am going to do a little bit of shuffling of committee assignments because we have a new counselor and not all of George's commitments fit her schedule. So stay tuned. I'll talk to you. I will be talking to a couple of you about that. So, okay, thank you. Alan.
Yeah, I too attended Dave Hauser's memorial. I thought it was extremely well done, and Dave was a pretty popular guy and funny guy as well, and I think he'll be missed. On the CRO ad hoc committee that the mayor put together, great group of people on that committee, broad spectrum of folks. Brittany Crick-Warner's taking Dave Hauser's spot as the chamber representative, as well as some other folks. 3 things that we're looking at again are the communications plan, the update of the CAP, what it should look like, how to do public involvement, and then how do you involve the community in getting the community engaged in a community-wide goals when we don't really have any command and control to do that. And so the committee met, and Jason Diedrich is facilitating it and doing an excellent job. We met on June 8th on the communications plan of getting information out. I was a little disappointed in that we're not as far along as we should be in terms of getting that stuff out. It's been quite a long time, but we do now have a plan and a timeline to get that moving forward and getting information out so people can go onto our website and look at, see where we are in terms of meeting our goals on the CRO. And then finally, July 26th, we'll be meeting again, our third meeting on the CEP update, and we'll get some information from staff. And when we get more information, we'll pass it on to council.
I did just think of something relevant. So I attended the Human Services Commission meeting, I think it was a week ago Monday, and one of the items staff went over was the one-night homeless count that's required by HUD for cities and counties that get HUD funding. And I won't go into the details of that. There was a report in the paper in terms of the numbers and the report, but since we had some public comment that referred to it on Monday, I'll just offer that it really is just a snapshot of one night. It's not meant as a tool to capture all of the need in the community or everyone who's experienced homelessness over the course of the year. But it does provide a comparison with past years. And the other thing is that the staff at Lane County is working to incorporate the data in such a way that they can also reflect folks who are in our rest stops or Opportunity Village, because those actually do not qualify as being housed under the HUD definition. So those folks would show up as homeless, even though the city has implemented strategies to give them some temporary emergency shelter. So I just think that's important to note, and also a nice thing on the part of the county to make sure to kind of capture some of the different programming that is going on in the city.
I have just a couple of things that haven't been mentioned elsewhere. One is that the subcommittee of the Poverty and Homelessness Board that works on supportive housing and shelter met last week, and there are a couple of projects that are really coming up. 2 projects to provide each 50 units, 50 to 60 units for chronically homeless adults. One is really close to, getting started right near the Lane County Behavioral Health on MLK Boulevard. A second one, I'm not sure what the location is, and that's not quite as far along. And then a third one that would serve 50 mothers with children, primarily mothers with children. So there is a lot of work happening on the supportive housing front. And then on the sheltering side, I have a meeting tomorrow with the larger group of stakeholders to kind of have the next level of conversation so that all those pieces are moving forward. And then finally, I had two things. A quick event, HIV Alliance opened their new building, very wonderful, in the old Holt International building, big, spacious, very dignified and respectful of the people they serve. And then yesterday I had an interview with Global Media, which owns the Japan Times newspaper, huge newspaper. They're doing a whole thing on the West Coast. They did a whole interview. They're doing a bunch of interviews in Eugene. We have the option of having a little section about Eugene that will go to this international audience. So kind of cool. Okay. So I think that takes care of that items of interest, and we are actually ready now to go into an executive session. And so I'll give everybody a few minutes to clear. Let's see, I can read my notes here. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
Mayor, there's a sentence at the bottom of page 1. Can you read that too?
Oh, yes, sorry. The Eugene City Council will now meet in executive session held pursuant to ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the job performance of a chief executive officer. Okay. We'll now go into open session. Did we get a knock? Thank you.
Somebody up there.
Yeah.
A ghost.
Okay, welcome now to the June 28th open council work session. We're talking about performance evaluation of the city manager. First in the queue is Alan, and then Chris, and then Mike. Okay, take it away, Alan.
John, I thought you did a stellar job over the last year. A couple exceptions to that, but I do think you do your job extremely well. I rated you as excellent. I hope you retire here. Wanted to say that in public session. The leadership and the management of your staff has just been stellar, and the work that you do on fiscal management and the budget is pretty spectacular. While other cities have struggled, we've struggled, but we've done it in an orderly fashion, and I think we're in really good shape compared to a lot of other folks, even though we've made some really hard choices and cut $30 million out of the budget over like a couple of years. I think the union relationships are better, but they still need more work. And I think the compromise that you helped work out on the ambulance funding between staff and the union was masterful. On the needs to improve side, I think the communications is and in a more timely fashion and on a regular fashion. I think you've taken that to heart, especially when it came to South Willamette and the new city hall. So I think bringing Sarah back in was a very good idea, and I think you have improved those communications a lot better communications and giving us a heads up earlier, especially on the new city hall process. That was not the best moment. I think still need work on downtown public safety, and I would like to see more leadership on TBL and climate recovery ordinance. Notice that wasn't in your self-evaluation. And then finally, earthquake preparedness. I think that the community and the staff and us individually all need to be better at being prepared for that. I think we're woefully unprepared for an earthquake in this community. It went from a couple of days of supplies to a week to 3 weeks, and now we're talking about maybe 3 months before we get water and electricity back. So I think that's something that we really need to stress and work on. And then finally, I just would like to see the flying people back up on the walls at the airport. Overall, though, I think you did an excellent job.
Chris?
Thank you. A lot of comments have been made in the evaluation. I think for me, if I try to boil them down and summarize them, a lot of the comments center around the notion of how we can move beyond improved communication, which is something we really do want to do, into improved engagement. I think a lot of the issues that we've had in the community have been around struggling to figure out a way to engage the public in the work that the city does, whether as a staff or even as a council. And I think engagement needs to happen because that's where you get the commitment on the part of the public to all the stuff that's going on. And so I think improved communication is something we have talked about, but I even want to see how can we figure out mechanisms to actually allow the public to be more engaged in the work we do, whether it's around City Hall, whether it's around regional planning, whether it's around whatever. And whenever we talk about engagement, we instantly recognize that engagement costs more money. And so what do we need to do operationally, budgetarily, or whatever to make sure we have the resources to do engagement the way it needs to be done? A community looks to its city, that's us and you, to be responsive to their needs. It could be public safety, it could be development, it could be whatever. They want their city to be responsive. That's a form of engagement, but to be truly responsive takes money. And so I guess what I'm offering up is to say part of our challenge will be, if we want to do the things we're asking you to do and to get to that high efficiency level we're looking for, we'll need help to figure out what that's going to look like financially, because I think we owe it to our public to be responsive, and we owe it to have the resources to allow us to be responsive. So that, I think, summarizes kind of what I heard a lot in the performance evaluation.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. John, I rated you excellent for your work this last year, as I have many years before that. I think that you are the best city manager that I have seen in my time in Eugene, and I have seen 7. And several before you are and were friends of mine. So it's strictly based on the fact that you have been able to form an organization and perform at the head of it in a manner that I think is just excellent. I will say that what we're doing right now provides a really great metaphor for the next piece I want to say, which is that we've just come out of executive session and now we're speaking on camera. We were speaking privately with you before to give you some very specific information, and right now we're speaking not just to you, but for the sake of the general public. Oregon law dictates that any employee gets to have some information about their employment private, just like school teachers and police officers and all public employees have some private sphere in their employment and some rights for that. And so the public doesn't always know all the details, and they give that up, but that's the state law. And we have to balance the public's right to that transparency with the state laws that we have to abide by. You have a very difficult job because not only do you have to balance the will of the majority of council and see what the community and what the council wants you to do, but you also have to operate within the sideboards of state law and federal law. And sometimes what the council or the community wants you to do rubs up against some of the other guidelines that are there for you legally. And so I think what most people don't know who are watching is just how hard that is to navigate and to balance. And so by way of explaining why I think you are an excellent city manager and you've done an excellent job this year, I thought I'd give my little piece of, I think that would be very hard sometimes to deliver on the things that this community and this council expects in the setting of our current environment. And I think you've done a very good job with it. Thank you.
Claire?
Thank you. So, John, thank you so much for your leadership in keeping us on a healthy track in terms of our fiscal health as a city and helping us plan for a future that could be very fraught with challenges. I especially appreciated your recent response to both the union and community input regarding additional ambulance transportation funding. You really recognized the value that community placed on that, and you offered a way forward that was very responsive. So I really want to acknowledge that. I also want to appreciate your work in the past year for working with folks in Lane County to house homeless veterans in our community. I think you were unsung in the work that you did there because it was very much behind the scenes. And I'm also very pleased with progress downtown in terms of creating a more welcoming environment and the economic development activity. But I did not give you a full-throated excellent rating this year. Instead, I gave you a good rating of good, and that reflects some of the dissatisfaction around how our City Hall process has played out, as well as some frustrations with public safety leadership as response to concerns raised by folks in Whitaker regarding the downtown public safety strategies that were implemented. So I hope next time to be able to give you that excellent rating that I've given you in the past number of years.
Anybody else? Emily?
Thank you. I'm new at this. I based my evaluation on what I heard from my constituents over the last year, and that is why I put unsuccessful due to City Hall and the South Willamette problems. But I also want to say that while I have been working with John directly, we have had a positive relationship. And so next year, I hope to give you a much better review. I am happy with the way downtown is progressing. I would like to see more strenuous efforts with our homeless problems, both for improving their lives, but also the numbers of complaints about residents with campers and destructive behavior has increased to the point that it's become very worrisome. Like Alan, I'm really concerned about the CRO really moving forward with some real steps. And as I said in the previous session, we really need some money. So anything you can think of to help us get some more of that would be great. And I'm looking forward to improved communications all the way around, especially with the goal of bringing more of our residents into a relationship with our government. So thank you for your work.
Anybody else? Betty?
I guess so. One of the best things you have done in comparison to other city managers is make the staff accessible to council. Mm-hmm. In the past, we were urged not to speak to staff members about problems, and I really appreciate the fact that they are accessible now. I think that's one of the best things. And your relationship with the executives is great. But I'm very concerned about what the people who work under them feel, and I hope that we will end up with a performance auditor who will help to let us know more about that aspect. I do think negatives. I think that urban renewal was pushed by the manager, and the projects. I know council agreed to them, but. I don't think that they didn't come from council. They came from staff. South Willamette was a mess in the city hall, but things are looking better. I'm glad to say. Thank you.
Greg, you can pass. I will just take a moment as a new mayor to express my appreciation for you as a colleague, and it's very clear how much your teams admire and respect you, how closely you all work together, and how effective you have been, which is demonstrated in all of the accomplishments of the last year and the years leading up to it. And my comments really are around communication also, that because each of your team execs really manage their own departments, you put good people in place and they do a good job. It means that on the communication level, it is very decentralized. And so I think sometimes we pay the price for that. And then I also think that that's a very close circle of colleagues in that executive team and in the staff. And so it's sometimes hard for those outside voices to find a way to be heard. So I also have, publicly said I think we should explore the benefits of a performance auditor and how that might influence things, and maybe that is one way in which we get that other perspective that's sort of outside of that team. So I put that out there. I think you've done an excellent job and I enjoy working with you, but I think maybe that added voice would be beneficial to the city government.
I wanted to mention, a big concern is lost or delayed items, like the nuisance thing, which obviously we still aren't going to do because of other reasons. But and a big thing that's been lost is the renaming of Kesey Square, which hasn't gone ahead. And I put this in my written evaluation, but this may never see the public. But I do think that we need to work with Ali Imami, who owns the buildings on both sides of Kesey Square, to get those walls open. That was one of the recommendations of the $160,000 project, and nothing's happened. Thank you.
Okay. Mike, one more?
Yeah, I just want to say, because this is on TV and because this is going into your formal report, I wanted to respectfully disagree with my friend next to me about the urban renewal piece. And the reason is because I don't want us to see a campaign, as we have before on this issue, that would use, say, some information that you were pushing urban renewal on the council, because I remember specifically a year and a half ago in October when I brought up the idea initially of using urban renewal for the fiber downtown and brought it to you, you saying, council has given me direction to let that expire, and that's absolutely what I intend to do. And you were very clear about that with me when I brought it up. And it was me arguing about it at council that started that conversation again. So I didn't want anybody under the impression that the manager was pushing urban renewal on people when that wasn't the case.
Okay, any other comments? Yes.
I just have a couple quick comments. First of all, thank you very much for all your feedback. I and the team take it very seriously and to heart, and so we will take all of your feedback and incorporate that as we move forward. And I appreciate you acknowledging the team we have. We have a great group of employees, we really do, and there's always room for improvement on all the fronts, and we'll continue to do that. But they're extremely hardworking. They're very dedicated and committed to this community, and they are spend a lot of time trying to think about and implementing what's the best for this community. So appreciate that very much for your thoughts on that. I also enjoy working with this team individually and collectively, and have for 9 years. We don't always agree on everything, but that's okay. It's not important that we agree on everything. And we yeah, Eugene, but it is helpful, and I think when you provide a good, clear guidance to us in policy direction, what we try to do is implement that in the best way we can. And so I do very much enjoy working with all of you, and look forward as we go forward. I just wanted to say, and I know you'll put the motion on the table, Alan, about asking for additional vacation time in lieu of any sort of a salary increase. And I brought that up to the council leadership team, primarily because while we are financially in a good place, we aren't in a place where I think that we are where we want to be fiscally and from a budget perspective, and we'll continue to work on that. And so for me, it's just sort of a recognition of that in lieu of that, and I've mentioned before, I do have an interest in taking several weeks off in the fall. Just haven't done that in decades, so kind of looking forward to doing that as well. So thank you.
Oh, Emily, one more comment?
Just real quickly, because this is your job. I'm glad I didn't know that we had previously been discouraged from interacting with staff, because I do it constantly. And I want you to know that the response I've gotten has been phenomenal, and it's been very quick, it's been very thorough, and that has to be because of you. So thank you.
Used to be real bad.
All right, Alan.
Yeah, the council leadership team meets on a regular basis once a month. That's the president, which is me right now, Mike is the vice president, and the mayor and the city manager get together. And one of the things we discussed was what to do about the evaluation and whether or not John should get a merit increase. And it speaks very admirable to John's fiscal management and leadership that he suggested foregoing a merit salary increase, and instead would like, on a one-time basis, 2 weeks of extra vacation leave. And we all thought that was a good idea as well. So I will move to, in lieu of a merit salary increase, that the council grant the city manager on a one-time basis 2 weeks, 80 hours of vacation leave.
Second?
Happily seconded.
Any discussion, questions? Emily?
By my calculations, this would, if it was in money, would be a 4% raise, which I just want to say that's what it looks like to me.
All right, good calculation. All right, we ready for a vote?
Although it doesn't increase costs at all.
No, she's just saying the equivalent
It's
of.
just time.
Right, just
So
time.
good luck taking 4 weeks off. And
Yeah, right.
possibly do that, but you do have a good team.
Leave it
in
when I
place.
see it. All right.
Okay, ready for a vote? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it passes. Congratulations, you have a 4-week vacation. If you can figure out how to make it happen. Thank you all, and that closes the meeting.